Welcome to the question and answer part of the Relationship Help Show. I'm Dr. Rhoberta Shaler, and you're always welcome to send in your questions or your stories to me, whether or not you want to come on air as a named guest or an anonymous guest, or you want me to read your question or your story on air. You can do that at forrelationshiphelp.com/submit. So an anonymous person wrote to me, a woman, and she said, married for 40 years, and I put up with the blaming and the anger and the outbursts and the rages, and I've been completely lost about what to do. Now I understand that I've been immersed in hijackal behavior all my life, with my parents blaming and shaming me, then my husband's outbursts. So I understand intellectually what's going on. So my question is, why am I still so afraid of my husband's anger and rages, which are always just below the surface in daily life? And why can't I get past this fear? Whenever it happens, I'm sick to my stomach with anxiety. Is it that I've never had a sense of myself and always been a total pretzel? Thanks. Wow, there's a lot of pieces to that question, and let me cover the main ones. If you are a person who has been held hostage to the rage of a hijackal, then you know exactly what this woman is talking about. And remember, she said a few key things here. She said she's been married for 40 years. Now, if we go back 45 years when she was dating, and we just think about the age and stage of the culture, we were still at a time when women were supposed to please men. When the idea of making yourself attractive to a man so you could get a quote-unquote good catch was very important. If you look at the magazines of the day or listen to programs from the day, you can see that. I mean, look at Mad Men, look at Leave It to Beaver, look at any of those things where the woman is supposed to please, where she's supposed to have a beautiful meal waiting, the children all bathed and ready for bed, and she's turned out beautifully with a fresh apron, always an apron, I don't know why, and she's got on fresh lipstick when her husband comes home, because she's supposed to please him and pretend that nothing happened in her day and be interested in his. So think about when that marriage started. It was at a different time. It was a different mindset. It wasn't what we were thinking about in these days. So this marriage is based on blaming and anger and, as she said, outbursts and rages. Then you do turn yourself into a pretzel. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe this person is responding to something I'm doing. Maybe I should be better. Maybe I should be more patient. Maybe I should stop being so demanding. Maybe I should remember, in this case, it's a guy, so maybe he had a bad childhood, and maybe he had a bad day, and maybe he doesn't feel good about himself, and I'm supposed to be the one who helps him. I can fix him. I can lead him to feel loved enough so he'll change his behavior. No, that's not how it works with hijackals. Let yourself off the hook right now. You cannot love them out of it. You cannot fix them. There is nothing that you can do that will change their basic nature. Got that? You cannot change them. They are out to change you. So in this case, in this woman's question, she has been put down, shamed, blamed, and now she recognizes that that happened at home too. Her parents did it. So when she was of dating age, and remembering that she's supposed to please men because of the time, it would have been extremely difficult for her to be in any other state rather than that comfortably uncomfortable place where I need to be worthy enough to capture a man, and how he behaves is my fault. And it isn't. You're with a grown-up. Whether or not that person has matured and is an emotional grown-up is another whole question. And in the case of hijackals, no, they have an emotional age, usually fixated somewhere at less than 10 years old. So when they go into their emotions, they're stunted, they're stopped. They don't have the normal range of emotions. So rage is very accessible to them. And if you have been raised to please other people, as this woman says, I've been blamed and shamed by my parents, So you need those parents. You needed them to protect you. You needed them to eat or sleep or keep you safe. And so when they blamed and shamed you, you naturally took it on yourself. You thought you were doing it. You thought they were right. Now is the opportunity for you to stand up, speak up, and express yourself, to really think through. And it's wise to get help for this, to help get someone to help ask you all the right questions, to get into the dark corners that you can't visit when you're sitting by yourself, and find out, where did you get these messages that made it all right for somebody to be yelling and raging at you? Where did you learn to take it on yourself? And so you ask the question, why am I still so afraid of my husband's anger and rages? Well, you've always been afraid. You've been afraid since you were a small girl. This is where it started. This is where you develop your patterns. This is where you develop the idea of who you are. Your parents tell you who you are. Your parents define you and your reality. And unless at some wise point in your life you take that over and you redefine it for yourself, that subconscious programming will keep running. So why are you still afraid of your husband's anger and rages? It's because you're still afraid of anyone's anger and rages at some deep level. And then you go on to say that his rages are just below the surface in daily life. Well, you're walking on eggshells, and who wants to live walking on eggshells? That means you are always living in fear, as you say. So you then are already in a heightened arousal state when you even think about your husband being in the same room with you or getting on the phone with you. What's going to be wrong? What is going to go sideways? Why is it always going to be my fault? Now, you know that having listened to this program or read any of my work or been on my YouTube channel for relationship help, or you visited the website for relationship help, you know that a hijackal is always going to blame you. Everything is going to be your fault. Why? Because nothing can be their fault. The idea of even entertaining the thought that something could be their fault is not possible. It destroys them internally, so they do not have that thought. Therefore, everything is your fault. So first of all, separate yourself from the hijackal in your head. Okay, that's his stuff. Now remember, I'm talking to this woman, so we're talking about her partner, who's a male. That's his. This is mine. He's raging. I'm cowering. I can do something about cowering. I can't do anything about his raging. That's his decision. But I can do something about me cowering. So get in touch with that. Okay, what can I do about that? Well, first of all, I can internally put up a wall and say, no, I've thought about that, and that's not my fault. Nope, I reject that. Then out of your mouth might come, that's not the way it seemed to me, and I don't believe that. You've said nothing wrong about the hijackal, so you're not, it will enrage him further because he's bound and determined to be enraged. But you have started to say, no, I'm clear about me. No, I didn't do that. No, what it looks like from my side is that that didn't happen. And you begin to separate out what belongs to the hijackal and what actually belongs to you, rather than seeing them enmeshed and entangled. And furthermore, you don't want the hijackal to be telling you what's your fault. You want to figure out, who are you? What is my reality? What are my values? What do I live from? Is this all right? Obviously, you're writing to me, so it's not all right on any level that somebody is having you live in fear. So, of course, you're going to want to ask yourself the question, why am I still there? Well, do your own work first. You've heard me say that. Everybody's heard me say that. Unless there's physical or sexual abuse going on, stop, get help, and do your own work first. Find out what's going on with you, why this has ever been acceptable to you, why you are enabling this, and what you want to be different. Then learn some skills and strategies. I have clients all over the world through video conferencing. We can work together. I will help you get new view, a new approach, a new perspective, new skills. And you try them out in the relationship and you strengthen them within yourself. And then you see what happens. And if nothing good happens, then you start to say, am I willing to put up with this any longer? And if the answer is no, then we work together to help you move away from that, which is not easy to work away from a hijackal. And for anybody listening who says, I want to leave, you do have to know how to leave. And you have to know when to leave. And you have to know how to prepare to leave. And you have to know about courts and attorneys and all that. And I can help you with that. But for you who's written to me about why am I still afraid of my husband's anger and rages, it's because you haven't stood up and looked the tiger in the face and said, I was angry and I was afraid of my parents' rage. I was afraid of their blaming and shaming. I do not want a repeat of that, so I back down. So you can clearly see now that the work lies within you. Do that first, and then you will know how to start speaking up and showing up and being different, letting the hijackal know that you will not put up with this and things have to change. Whether or not they'll change, that remains to be seen. But the first step is within you. I hope that helps. This is Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. You're listening to the Relationship Help Show on Relationship Help Radio. Visit us at relationshiphelpradio.com or visit my YouTube channel at For Relationship Help. Talk soon.